Hello and welcome everyone to this demo and presentation video of our Scholar Chat system, a web solution that is proposed to improve the mentoring sessions at Purdue University. Now, before wasting any time, let's just dive straight into what exactly Scholar Chat system is all about and how will it help to enhance our mentoring sessions. I would ask Blaze to explain the context and the problems regarding our current mentoring sessions workflow.
Will do. Thank you, Jinkia. So first, let me answer the question. What is Computer Science Scholar Chat? It is a program here at Purdue Fort Wayne where mentors are hired to help other students with computer science problems. So we three are mentors and we helped with this program and we've mentored other students. This helped build a community and this helped create more of a better environment for computer science students. Throughout this program, we also want to get feedback from these same students. And the current implementation of that is a single QR code laminated placed by the tour. Now, why is this a problem? This is a problem because it just has no presence and is typically ignored. And even when it's not ignored and scanned, students often wait to finish the form until later where it's not very useful at that point. I remember when I first started mentoring, I didn't know it was one of my duties to have the student to scan the form and fill it out. I think this hints to an underlying issue where the form doesn't really hold importance in Scholar Chat as the way it is implemented now. This promotes stagnation and prevents growth, and that is a real issue. So we want to propose a solution, and I think Ajinkia will continue talking about that.
Thank you, Blaze. Now, I will explain you the revised workflow that our proposed solution will have. Instead of students uh, uh, signing the QR code and signing the checkout form, they will be required to check in and check out. But during the checkout, they will have to fill much shorter form, which will only consist of their ID, their session rating, and also were they satisfied with their session or not. Once they fill out that particular checkout form, the mentor will get notified and then will be prompted to start his own review notes regarding that particular session. So, what exactly will be inside mentor session notes? The key details, such as the courses that the student came in for mentoring, the professor of that particular course, the topic that was discussed, the understanding level of the students, the reason for visit, and etc. etc. Once the mentor submits his session notes, the student feedback and mentor notes would be stored in securely in our database, and then our admin, or in this case, the chair of department, would be able to generate AI-driven reports to identify key details regarding their CS department courses, such as what exactly or where exactly students are struggling the most. Now let's just dive straight into our demo. As you can see, this is our homepage for our Scholar Chart system, which would be visible to all of our students in Purdue University. It has information regarding our Scholar Chart, also our location on campus, also the schedule details for all the mentors, and also we do have our developers references in future if they need to reach out to us. Now, before showing how the system will work, I will just take a moment to just explain how does our current setup look like. So we will have a public device in our ET118, which will host the student checkout form, and the student will get checked in via mentor's own laptop through his account. So I will show you how will mentor set up the student checkout form whenever he is starting a mentoring session. So he would first enter 81118, and then he will go to log in onto the public computer and click on the start a mentoring session. Once he clicks that, the system will ask him to validate himself, as only mentors are allowed to start a mentoring session. So I will validate myself. I will enter my, let me see. Yeah, I will enter my username and password. And once I get validated, I can now, the student form is now active. And now mentor can successfully set up his own laptop in a such a way that student can check it. Now I would ask Gustavo to explain how will mentor do that.
Right. So I'll explain how the mentor dashboard and mentor workflow works now. So first thing me as a mentor would do would be go to login and then go to mentor login right here. I'll enter my credentials as a mentor. And there we go. We're now in the mentor dashboard, and I'll go ahead and explain all of the pages that we have here on the left sidebar. So first thing I would do is to be to uh, click on the student check-in page, and I'd have this open on my personal laptop, and I'll be in the mentoring room waiting for a student to come in. So let's say a student has come in for a mentoring session, and the first thing they would do would be to slide their ID card on a card reader, and that would populate this field right here with the student's ID number. Let's say their ID number is 9000. And so after getting their ID number, the mentor would then click the check-in button, and he would officially start the mentoring session. So right now, the mentoring session is in progress. And if we go to our dashboard page over here, we can see all the pending review sessions. And as you can see, the session that we just created is in progress. And we can also have information on what's the student ID number, the date that it was created, and how long the mentor still has left to write the review notes. And so while the session is going on, or even after, the mentor can click on Write Review, and it will bring him to this page where this is where the mentor would actually write his review of the session. He would write his notes and his observations on how the session went. He can write, select information about the course and professor that was asked about and the topic. Let's say it was just programming. He would then select how much he thinks the student understood the topic and what was the reason for the student's visit. If he has any other additional notes, he would fill them out here. But as you can see down here, it says the session has not yet ended, so he cannot submit the notes yet. The student first needs to sign out on the sign out form in order to complete the whole session. So as of now, I'll just save it right here and edit it later. And let's go to the student sign out form right here. And so let's say the session has ended. And so the mentor will then ask the student to complete this form, which will be open on the room's public computer. And he would, again, swipe his card on a card reader, which would populate this with his ID number. It was 9000. He would then give a rating to the session, how much he thought it was useful, and if his goals were met. And if he has any additional comments, he can write them here. But if not, he can click the submit feedback, and boom, the feedback was submitted, and the session is complete. So if we go back to the mentor dashboard and refresh the page, we'll see that the session is no longer in progress. And once the mentor clicks continue, you can see that the submit button is now available. So let's say I'm done writing all my notes. I've written everything I wanted to. So let's submit the notes for this session. So boom, and the notes are submitted. They no longer appear in my pending reviews page, and the whole workflow is completed, right? So the other thing I need to show you guys is the history tab. So right here, a mentor can view all of his previously submitted notes, all the notes of all the session he's submitted right here. And if we look at this one right here, this bottom one, which is the last one that we just submitted, he can click on view notes and actually see what he wrote down for that session review. And you can see up here on green, it says when I submitted it and all of my notes. But let's say now looking at it, I actually forgot to write something very important, or I realized I wrote something wrong. So the mentor can then click on this edit button, which would then allow him to edit the notes. Let's say I want to correct my notes here. But I also need to give a reason for this change. Let's say there was a typo. And right down here, I can click the button request change, which would not immediately change the notes. It would then notify the admin dashboard for an admin to reject or approve my notes. He would read the reason for change. He would see what I wanted to edit, and he would, make a decision. The reason we do this is so that mentors can't freely change notes in the database. There has to be a valid reason for it, but let's say I wanted to change something, and so I would request a change. And so my notes is no longer visible here on the history tab. My session review is no longer visible. It's not here anymore, but it is appearing on the admin dashboard, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the demo. But yeah, as of now, I've done everything I could as a mentor to edit my notes, and I'll just show some other additional features that we have in the mentor dashboard. For example, the notepad, which is basically an in-app note-taking feature where mentors can just take down notes on whatever they want. Of course, he can do this with the pen and paper, but we just thought that it would be useful for the mentor to have this already built into the system. Makes it more convenient. He doesn't have to use it, but if he wants to, it's a nice feature for him to have. So he can save, edit, and delete some notes if he wants to. Next up, we have the show statistics page, which shows some basic statistics about the mentor's work. Basically, how many hours he's worked, how many people he's helped, and we also can see his average mentor rating given by students when they submit the sign-up form. And lastly, we have the profile settings page, which shows basic information about the mentor's account. He can also update his profile, change his password, and change or remove his profile image right here if he wants to. So that's basically it. That wraps everything on the mentor dashboard side of things. So I'll go ahead and log out. And I'll pass it on to Blaze, where he'll explain to you a little bit more how the admin dashboard side of things works. And yeah.
Thank you a lot, Gustavo. That was very good representation of the mentor workflow. I'll go ahead and try my best in showing the admin workflow. So just like the mentor, I go ahead and click admin login, and I will go ahead and type in the admin credentials. Now here, this is the first page that the admin will see. Is just an overview of all the information that has been done weekly for the sessions done that week. So here we can see all the different mentors and how many hours they worked and how many students they even mentor. We also can see what course has the most students coming for it. So we can see this week 160 has 5 students coming for it. And we can even see how many pending sessions each mentor has, which just means sessions that the mentor hasn't completed yet, but can still be completed. Next, we can look at the session records, which is where all the data is displayed in table format. Now, this is very overwhelming, so that is why there is a filter system here. So all of these with underlines can be selected and can be chosen for filters. Here we can filter by date, here we can filter by course, and we can even filter by mentor. So suppose I want to filter just my own, and we can see here, and let's say I want to save this filter. There's an option to do that. So here I'll go ahead and just type Tony. And if I swap to a different preset, for example, Gustavo's, we can clearly see that all of his show up. You can switch to Tony. Very easy to make sure that your presets are saved. Now suppose I want to read all of Gustavo's mentoring notes. So here I can click on mentor feedback and it'll show them, but it might be a bit too overwhelming to just try to read them here. So in order to congregate them all and get a better understanding of the overarching feedback that comes from mentors, we added an AI-based summary feature. If I go ahead and select this, it'll load for a little bit, it'll generate a text file, and we'll read it. All right, it is finished, and we can see that a file called Sessions Notes Summary is ready to be downloaded. We go ahead and save this, and we can go ahead and open it up. And we can see that it took all of Gustavo's feedback notes and summarized them in a very easy to read bulleted list. So we can easily glance over this and understand the basic overarching viewpoint of how sessions are being done and what mentors' feedback on those sessions are. One last thing to say about the table is the export CSV function, where it takes the current preset that you have of the filters and exports that to a CSV-based format where you can download and use anywhere else, including other AI summarization tools if you need. Next, if you want a different way to see all of your different patterns, you can go ahead and look at the Trends and Patterns page. What this will go ahead and do is just clearly visually represent all the different information in the database. So here we can see that just like the weekly summary suggested, 160 is the class where most students come in for help. We can even see that Dr. Kim and Dr. NG often have students coming in for their mentoring. Even we can see that homework guidance is the main reason why students come in. This is a very, very useful page to get instant visual feedback on what is happening through mentoring sessions. This red notification might have caught your eye. This is the mentor's request page. And as Gustavo clearly stated earlier, this is where the admin is able to look at and approve or deny the changes that the mentor suggests. I'll go ahead and click View Changes, and we can clearly see the two different versions of the form that was submitted. Here is the current notes, and here's the requested changes. And you can clearly see highlighted in yellow what has been changed, and the reason for change is also displayed as well. As an admin, I look at this and see this is an okay change, so I'll go ahead and approve this change. What this does is now, if Gustavo looked back in his mentor history, he will see this again and he will see it as correctly changed. The next page is the Manage Mentors. Here, you can go ahead and see a little bit extra information, such as how many expired sessions each mentor has, as well as whether or not you can add and remove a schedule. So we can see that I don't have a schedule and I'd like to change that. So I'll go ahead and click Add a Schedule and navigate to where my schedule is at, and I'll upload this. And later we'll see that on the home page, this is updated correctly. Before we go there, I'd like to point out a couple other options you can do on this page as an admin. You can either add another mentor, which we'll go into detail before, or if you click this Manage button, it'll display the Remove Mentor options, which we'll again go into detail later. Finally is the My Profile page. Here's where the information about the admin is displayed. It's very similar to the profile page for mentors. Simple basic information, email, username, and it's also where you can update your password. And as I promised before, I'll go ahead, log out, go to the home page, and show that indeed the schedule has properly updated. We can see here. Now, I'll go ahead, hand it over back to Jinkia, and he'll continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Blaze, for explaining the demo pretty well. Let's just go back to the presentation. One thing I would like to go more in detail about was how can admin add and remove mentors in the system. Admin can add a mentor by just entering their name and the email of that particular mentor. Once they click add a mentor, the system will automatically generate a one-time passcode that will be sent to that particular email, through which the mentor can register uh, through a link, as you can see in this image. Admin can also remove a mentor, but one thing that I wanted to point out was that we will not completely delete the mentor in our database, since we do want the information about that particular mentor and the attached sessions for our future reference. Now, the bit of explain what are the services that we give to our admins and mentors, and also about our email service. So one important feature that we do offer to our admins and mentor is forgot password. How does that work? Is be it admin or mentor, if he clicks forgot password, he will be prompted to enter his email. If it is a registered email within our system will again generate a one-time passcode that will be valid for 10 minutes, through which he can reset his password. A little bit about our email service currently. So we are using NodeMailer and Gmail account currently, but I'm sure that whenever Purdue acquires this project, this would be changed and it will be replaced with the official EDU email. A little bit about our project architecture. We are using mainly 6 services. So I will just explain all of them in briefly. So starting off with front end, we are using React.js. Backend, we are using Node and Express.js. For database, we are using MongoDB since we are storing images and other things. We also have Python service that is responsible to deal with graphs and communicate with our Olama service. As I mentioned earlier, we have email service, then Olama service, which is responsible to load our LLM model, which will help us to summarize the mentor notes. Then we have background check service, which will check the session expiry and also send out warning emails before a session expires. Background check service is also responsible for the data backups so that we have a foolproof deployed service. Talking about tech stack, I would then ask Blaze to just go over our tech stack that has been used in this project.
Yep. Thank you, Ajinkya. I'll briefly go over this. As you probably gathered, we're using a MERN stack, which is Mongo, Express, React, and Node. And as said before, we are using Olama LLM in order to summarize our notes rather than OpenAI or some other options. For development, we decided to use Docker, which made it extremely useful for containerizing our servers and our different separate pieces of code. Excuse me. For AWS, we plan on using AWS for deployment, which will use their EC2 service as well as their load balancer, which their load balancer will help us correctly handle network trafficking. And then Kubernetes, which would help in zero downtime. We would like to do this in the future as well. So this would make it to where we can still do maintenance, or if there's a critical failure, in either case, our servers will still stay up and be accessible. Next, I'd like to talk about the cron jobs and the periodic background checks. So these are scheduled checks. As Ajinkya said before, these will go ahead and send warning emails if a session is close to being expired. It does this by periodically checking the age of each session. And once the session does expire, the cron job will look at it and email admins and then label it as expired. Also, you may have noticed, suppose a student doesn't sign out after signing in, this causes a session to hang in limbo and it stops our workflow. So we used cron jobs to implement a solution to this, where after a reasonable amount of time, if the student doesn't sign out after signing in, rather than having a stuck, stagnant session, it pushes it to mentors so they can continue filling out and continue the workflow. Though that does mean there will be null values where the student would normally fill in their feedback information. And I'll let Gustavo go ahead and discuss how this program actually solves this issue.
Yeah, so in this presentation, we said a lot of things. We um, talked about a lot of information. So we just wanted to reiterate about how our program solves our initial problem that we stated. So basically now, the feedback form is always open in the room's physical computer. So this um, solves the problem of the student having to get his phone, scan the QR code, and to bring up the form. Now the student doesn't have to do anything. He's just asked to sit on the computer and complete the form. And the other thing is that the feedback is now required to complete, because even if before the student had the QR code, he sometimes didn't complete the form or forgot to complete it later, But now, since the form is already open and it's on a physical computer, he has to complete it before he leaves. So we'll always get the data. And to make it easier for the student too, we did make our form shorter. So it's only a quick couple seconds and boom, we're done. The other thing that's now good is that the mentor is now a part of the system. So as before, the mentor didn't have any input, but now we can get the mentor's perspective on the sessions and the observations that he had. So this makes our data richer. And with this program, we now organize the data, and we've uh, allowed it to be viewed and analyzed and interpreted in a multitude of ways. So all of these things make Scholar Chat a better program, and basically it makes Scholar Chat gain more visibility because a lot of students on our campus don't even know we have tutoring, but with a renewed software system, we imagine that this would attract more students for mentoring, and which would consequently improve the mentoring quality. So yeah, But before we end, we just want to talk about a little bit of some things that we didn't have time to implement right now, but we plan on doing sometime in the future. For example, an online appointment scheduler. As you can see on the image on the right side of the screen, we have a little prototype. We plan on adding a feature for students to schedule appointments with mentors at certain available times. And not only that, we thought about interactive session chats where it would establish a direct connection between students and mentors, and maybe use more machine learning for predictions and more analytics on our data. But um, we also thought that why not think a little bit bigger picture, because our campus has several other departments that have tutoring, and so why not give the Scholar Chat system to them so they can apply it to their physics, chemistry, and math tutoring departments. And maybe sometime in the future, even why not have this as a service for other universities that also have tutoring or mentoring systems to use our application? But who knows? So basically, this is all that we have for Scholar Chat. That sums up everything that we've done. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening and watching.
Yep. Just one thing that I wanted to mention before we end this video. As we approached the computer science department and identified the problem, we will be also working with them in near future in integrating this system to their Purdue education ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.